Okay.
Episode 4.
Episode 4.
I have to say this first. Tori, who is Prevail GM, a good friend of ours, she said that there's a statistic. Did I say that word right?
No.
Statistic? How do you say it?
Basically.
That, how many? I don't even know the story.
13.
13. That most podcasts don't make it past 13 episodes.
Uh-huh.
Is there a percentage that don't make it, or did she just say, like, can't remember what she told us. She just heard that a lot of people that start podcasts don't make it past episode 13. So we at least have to have 14 episodes.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yeah.
Let's start over.
No. We're not starting over.
You can't.
What you were saying, like there was you were gonna follow up with some reason.
No, I was just saying that we're on episode 4, which is 3 more than 1 and way closer to 13 than 0.
It's not way closer at all.
Then 0 it is.
No.
0 to 4?
4 is way closer. 4 is it's only 4 integers away from 0. It's 7 integers away from 13.
Yeah, but it's closer than the 0.
It's farther along, but it's not closer.
I'm going to cut all of this out.
No.
Okay, we're restarting.
No, we're not restarting.
Okay. My lips are on fire right now, which is kind of funny. Like, the things that females do. I love this lip gloss, but it's like it's called a plumper lip gloss. So it has something in there. It's supposed to make your lips fuller. Like plumper. It's called plumper lip gloss.
Mm-hmm.
But it burns.
So it becomes plumper by just inflammation, just your body reacting to something that it hates, and so it just gets inflamed and bigger.
Yeah, it doesn't have ingredients on here. I'm sure it's not that great. But
Well, okay.
lips are on fire.
Lips are on fire.
Okay.
So it's episode 4. We don't have a specific thing we're going to talk about. I mean, we got lots of things to talk about as always, but I mean, definitely, I almost made some content around this earlier, but I was like, ugh, I don't know.
Let's hear it.
Well, like we both went for a run this morning.
We did.
With heart rate belts on.
Yes, because this is a very important key to this. We went running this morning because it was 66. We saw it was going to be 66 this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it was going to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was humid.
Yep.
Anyways. Okay, so we went on a run.
Yeah, we ran. Yeah. And the entire time I was like, my zone, heart rate, and we talk about this all the time, with like the frustrations with weight loss and fat loss and all the misconceptions about it. But I was thinking that maybe we should make content around how heart rate zones are probably like the least, like using heart rate zones for weight loss is just a gigantic myth. Like the percentage that matters is so small compared to everything else. You know, you see people like post the little screenshots of their zones, and it's like got a bunch of red and so many calories, and like I worked so hard and spent this much time in this zone, and it's all mainly a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
Because it's really distracting away from what's really going on. You know, like a lot of people will think, oh, you went on a run this morning. Most people would think that's because you're trying to lose weight.
Right.
Most people.
Right. I mean, that's what I tried to do.
Right.
12 years ago.
That's what we've been told forever.
Run all the time.
Right. And so some people might think that the harder I run, the more effective it is for me to lose weight. So the heart rate intensities and zones, we think like that matters to weight loss, and it really has little or nothing, and might even be backwards. I mean, there's a whole bunch of of people that we've met, and there's even like a study out there where morning cardio compared to strength training, people gained more weight. Because what happens when you do morning cardio?
You're hungrier all day.
You're hungry all day. So if you go out and technically burn 600 calories worth of energy,
Mm-hmm.
but you consume 1,000 more during the day,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually gaining weight. And most likely that quality of food is definitely going to change because your hunger is so, like, the
like
cravings are so
cravings,
big that you just, like, munch and chow down on huge chunks of carbohydrates.
Yeah, it's hard to like unthink that and unlearn that process, but
But it's never really been like taught either. You know, like that idea is just a bunch of headlines.
that's true.
You know, so that's why it's just been like one sentence at a time forever that makes you think, oh yeah, I should go running for weight loss, or yeah, if I work super hard, or maybe that's a little more of our like Western philosophy of intensity equals progress. Like the harder I work, the more progress I'm going to make.
Sure. I mean, okay, I remember like in high school, somebody would like lose a bunch of weight, and somebody would be like, what did you do? And they were like, oh, well, I started running.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really like they started moving more.
Yeah, 100%. That's why.
But they just thought that it was running.
Right. It's not the running.
Right. But then
that does it.
But then I thought.
Right.
That it was running.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's why the vast majority of our side of the industry in group fitness
Mm-hmm.
is intensity heart rate based, because everyone thinks it's the heart rate based exercises that means you lose more weight.
Well, right. Because then I went on a jog this morning and I wore my heart rate belt and I was at a zone 2, so 65% effort. And so when I'm done with my run, I'm not exhausted. I feel fine. But if I were to go do sprints the whole time and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm dying,
Right.
then you just feel
Right. You think
like
that it
you
matters
did
more.
more. Yes. Yeah.
And it does matter more from a conditioning. Well, not more. It's the similar value from a conditioning standpoint. Like, if you're going to disassociate the conversation, but am I doing this to get in better shape?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have the ability to, well, technically this would be like, I have the ability to run better, more efficiently, farther, or faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than, like, I'm running for weight loss, or I'm going to do sprints for weight loss.
Right.
Because it's such a small thing.
Yeah.
But it's a big thing when you start. Because if you're doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start doing something,
Mm-hmm.
your body ups its energy equation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just because you're doing more than you were before.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
It just adapts.
It adapts.
Yeah.
And then weight loss stalls, and you're like, well, I
Mhm.
should do more running.
Yeah.
Right. But that's just doing movement. It's not that you were like, it's not that the running specifically was the reason.
Right.
And it's not that you're like, oh, I was in zone whatever 2 and 3. That's the reason. It's just because you were just moving more.
You were just moving more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But sometimes when we chase the intensity of it and then we're like chasing the cravings of it and then we're more exhausted all the time, then it's not really doing if the goal is weight loss.
Right. If the goal is, because then that's the opposite side. If we
Right.
think, well, if I just add more intensity, but then if you add so much intensity that it overstresses the body,
Right.
and it jacks up your energy, it jacks up your hunger cues, and jacks up your sleep, then the total net positive effect is actually less than it was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard. It's tricky.
But it's tricky, but it's not tricky once you understand the principles of,
Right.
like, all weight loss is energy manipulation of in and out. That's all it is.
Right. Yeah. But then you go back to thinking that like, oh, well, the harder I do the thing, then the harder output that I'm doing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and so to break that down.
But there's a couple myths. So like the harder I'm doing something and then you're like, well, I went on an easy run and my watch only said I burned 300 calories and I went on a hard run and it says I burned 450. So I can eat 450 more.
Right.
So then what happens?
Right.
You know
Well,
what
that's
I mean?
yeah. Well, that's yeah. So the first piece to that is the calorie count in technology
Mm-hmm.
is super inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's going to be really, it's always going to be 10 to 15% off.
Right.
So if you were to go 1-to-1 with that idea of like, okay, well, I burned 500 calories, so that means if I eat 500 calories, I'm at a 0.
Right.
I'm at like the same. I'm at maintenance.
Yeah.
But all the technology is 10 to 15% off, so you could have burned anywhere from 420 to 400 to 600 calories.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you think is 500 calories of food
Mm-hmm.
can also be way off.
Yeah.
So at any given time, if you're constantly fighting that in and out with calorie, the math is way off.
It's way off.
It's way off.
But you know what's even like tricky? Like MyFitnessPal, if you have like an Apple Watch and you start your activity, if you sign up for like MyFitnessPal to track calories, it'll just automatically sync and negative
Yeah.
your exercise.
Yeah, not good.
No, it's not good. You got to toggle it off fast because, well, then you're getting into the trading like exercise for food.
Yeah, so now
which is not
right,
a
so,
good headspace.
Yeah, so even on the science side, it's
not, it doesn't
super
make sense.
skewed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then now you're really dipping into some
You're-
really unhealthy mental, like
Yeah. You're jacking up
some toxic beliefs, some mental health that's like way, way off. Because now you're just going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So not only will you not make the progress from the physiology side,
Mm-hmm.
now you're also tanking your mental side at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So it's a lose-lose when you fight this calories in, calories out from a direct how many calories am I burning
Mm-hmm.
kind of like idea,
Mm-hmm.
compared to what am I getting out of the exercise, and then am I managing, what was that podcast we listened to, the Russell Crowe and Joe Rogan podcast?
Oh, yeah.
And Rogan was like, well, what are you going to do? You know, he was talking about Russell Crowe's going to stop doing so many types of rules to where his weight and his size don't matter. Like, he wants to be like a healthier human.
Yeah. Because he had to gain some weight.
Yeah, he gained weight a couple,
Yeah. So now he's like trying to lose the weight.
Right. And he was like, well, what exercise? Joe Rogan was like, well, what exercise are you going to use to help you with that, since you can't do running because of injuries? And he was like, well, I'm not going to try to. In the past, I would outwork, like Olympic level outwork my energy.
He would like run for hours a
Run
day
for
and
hours.
work out just like
Crazy all the
a
time.
professional
Just do
boxer.
tons and tons and tons of movement
everything.
all the time to upset the
Mhm.
equation. And he's like, now I don't want to put that type of effort into it from the exercise intensity volume standpoint. He's like, I want to exercise. And he was like doing tennis, and he was doing something else and doing something else for his like exercise because that's what he enjoyed. That's what he could do consistently. But he was like, I'm going to manage the rest of it from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, so I'm going to manage portion control and quality of food and timing and like the macro different nutrient like balances instead of trying to, but specifically he said, I'm not going to use an Olympic level of output because I can't do that anymore. And I think that's the hard part, because we've done really big, huge movement things.
Huge.
Right? Like, yeah, go hike across the canyon for 24 hours and you're going to burn tons and tons and tons of energy.
Yes.
Like, just go walk with a 10-pound pack up and down a hill.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that 8 hours a day, yeah, you will outwork your energy.
Yeah.
But that's unsustainable, because now you get back into the stress side.
Right.
Because now we're overstressing. Not only are we stressing like the system, we're overstressing soft tissue.
Yeah. And it's a completely like different goal too, a performance goal versus a weight loss goal.
Yeah, and if it's a performance goal with movement based for an objective, like a sport, if you say sport / competition, if that's just like, I have a goal of hiking this thing, technically, if you put that in a sport category, because that's what it is. Because now
it's an event.
Everything I'm doing is for the arbitrary completion of this thing, not for like me personally for health reasons.
Yes.
Or body composition or whatever the internal goal is.
Mm-hmm.
But then we try to overeat to increase performance.
Right.
Or at least get really, really close to maintenance because we want food to be the thing to make the performance better for the sport.
Yes. Right.
Right. And that's a different time. And then maybe that is a time for heart rate zones when you're doing things intentionally for getting in shape compared to like, right. Because a lot of you, you see someone like, I went for a run, burned 400 calories, or anytime someone starts their watch in the middle of a workout.
Right.
And it's just to chase calories.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
How many people are successful at that to get to their weight? And if they are, what do they sacrifice mentally?
Yeah. I mean, I think social media and headlines of magazines are getting better than they were, but going down the rabbit hole of like being obsessed with the calories burned on the watch and chasing the intensity and thinking about like, oh, well, I didn't hit my red zones today, so I'm not going to eat this thing, and like trading that. Like personally, now I've moved into like okay, my nutrition is my nutrition, and this is like body composition stuff, and my workouts are like, how can I be strong and capable and have fun and enjoy them and do cool things, and it's hard to like separate the two, but they can be.
Yeah, that would be the biggest, like when people say you should start exercising to lose weight.
Right.
That's the normal go-to thing.
It's so hard.
But there are things that exercise do to make the weight loss process better.
Yes.
But the exercise isn't the driver of the weight loss. And then you're just using the word weight loss compared to fat loss.
It's completely different.
Completely different. Because if I'm trying to only lose fat, well, then I need to be doing all the muscle sparing things as possible.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact we both do this. When we went through like big bouts of endurance training over multiple months, we always lose muscle mass.
Yeah.
Because
terrible.
the volume of work, yeah, sure, the scale went down, but fat mass increased, muscle mass decreased. And we've had to intentionally go into blocks of low endurance movement, well, not low, but lower endurance movement baseline for heart health, for movement, for like recovery, and then overeat and overlift to regain muscle.
Yeah.
When if thinking about like, well, maybe I shouldn't chase cardio all the time just the scale.
Yeah. I mean, we should just do before and afters of us training for Moab for 2 years, because my body fat percentage was the highest and muscle mass was the lowest during that time. But in the reverse of thinking of like, oh, well, I want to lose weight, I'm going to do all this cardio. I mean, that was the most cardio I've ever done, week by week. And my body composition was nowhere near what I wanted it to be. Yeah. But my performance was
right, because
decent.
that was the goal.
That was the goal.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
Right. But you would think, well, yeah, if you're going to run like 12 to 15 hours a week, you would lose all sorts of weight.
Yeah.
You might.
No. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Tricky.
Yeah. So the heart rate zones are definitely a tricky thing. And calories in, calories out with exercise.
Yeah.
And then, from the calories in, we like to say energy in, energy out.
Energy in, energy out.
Not just calories, because you want to think about the entire balance. And that's another thing too, is you were just talking about how
the balance.
Right. When you're like launching this next program on the 9th, and if you're talking to someone and you're saying, I'm going to help you find balance.
Right.
Right. And that's because that's a fun word for someone to think, yeah, I'm going to find balance, so that, really what they're looking for is they want to seek control.
Sure.
Right. But balance technically would mean that all your process from your energy in, energy out, and your body composition and your weight
stays the same.
Everything stays the same. Yeah. Right. So I'm not gaining or losing muscle. I'm not gaining or losing fat. And the process, in order for that to happen, my energy in, energy out is at balance or maintenance. Yeah. So it's like, if you wanted to find balance, so you're telling me you want to find a way to hold on to whatever results you have now and not make them better or worse.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that would be finding balance.
That would be finding balance. And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the intention and that's the goal, like,
Yes.
like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm only getting worse, or I feel like I keep gaining weight every year.
Yes.
It's like, all right, you want to find balance? Cool. That means that we're going to, like, stop the bleeding.
We're going to hold steady.
Right. Or if you think of like a boat, like you're going to plug the holes so that we're not going to sink anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the boat's not going to get faster.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold balance. Yeah. But it's like anytime you go into, if you want any type of change, if it's a performance thing, if it's a fat loss thing, if it's a muscle building phase, you just have to go out of balance.
Intentionally.
Right.
And
you have to kind of like dig in because you want a different result.
Right. Yeah. If you visually think about a seesaw, like at the park.
Yes.
If you were to stand right in the center,
mm-hmm.
both feet on both sides,
mm-hmm.
and neither one of the seesaws touching the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now I'm standing there and I'm at balance, and both of those sides of that same board aren't touching the ground.
Right.
But I have to make adjustments all the time to keep each one off the ground. So that's at balance. That's a maintenance, and that's effort.
Yes.
Right. You don't do nothing.
Right.
But on the other side, like if you do nothing and let's just call it weight gain side of the board is touching the ground, you're going to have to walk across the board beyond center to upset that balance.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to want to stay on the weight loss side of the balance, you're going to have to stay on the other side of the board and more often, like at a super high frequency, compared to staying at the middle.
Yeah.
Which is still going to be a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
yeah. It's just like that. If nothing changes, Yeah. So it's not balance, but you can eventually find balance.
Right. Balance and maintenance are the same thing.
Yeah.
But you can't say, I want to find balance and lose weight.
Yes. No.
No.
No. Not how it works.
No, not how it works. You can find control and lose weight.
Yes.
Right. But that means you're going to have to overwork.
Yes.
Balance.
Yes. Yeah. It's like weight loss and fat loss are simple.
Simple in ideas.
Not easy.
Right.
The effort has to be turned up a notch. It's
right.
Like, we don't like to look at anything as like a challenge, right? Like, 21-day challenges or whatever they are. But like, in a sense, a fat loss phase is a phase which can be challenging.
Right.
Because your energy and your effort into that process has to be so high to see the results.
Yeah.
And then you find balance.
Right. The word challenge is the 21-day and the 6-week challenge have been around for so long because those were intentionally built around the natural human psychology.
How we want challenge?
No, how the durations.
Oh.
Well, and the words.
Yes.
Right. So it was like someone is thinking, okay, I want someone to make progress. And I know mechanically from top-end, high-end coaching, if I could coach someone for the next 12 months, I would be able to get all their results.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But psychologically, that's a lot to absorb and to process and to project.
Yes.
Right? You're like, I can't see myself 12 months from now, like getting to where I want to go. That's crazy. There's so many things between now and then.
Yes.
But if you're thinking, okay, well, for 3 weeks, I can project myself forward for 3 weeks. Okay, can I challenge you to do this for the next 3 weeks? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But that's really just like I don't know, it's like a gateway. It's like a
kickstart.
It's a kickstart. It's meant to be the thing that gets you going in the right. So that 21 days, you basically
like really kickstart.
You're on the balance, you're on the teeter-totter, and the one side is on the ground, and you basically jump all the way over to the other side,
teeter over,
slam the other side into the ground, then hold it. Right.
Yeah, but then what?
Then you're like, oh, it's over. And then what most people do? Jump all the way back to the other side. When if you were to kind of like slowly walk across, kind of get over there and be like, all right, I'm going to like touch this other side randomly, but I'm going to keep touching it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to intentionally go back to balance. But the goal is to never let the weight gain side touch the ground.
Yes.
If you can like visually.
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, not to go down this rabbit hole like that much, but
Why not?
I don't know.
What's this for? Why not go down the rabbit hole?
Okay, well, let's go down the rabbit hole. It's like 21 days. Like, yeah, it's great. You can see progress in 21 days for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've tested a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you want like big results, on average, it's like 1 to 2% body fat you can lose in like 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to lose 5-10% body fat, it's like you have to be in that headspace of like, oh, I'm gonna not find balance for the next 6 months and get these results and then teeter back to balance. And it's 100% possible. But I almost think it's nicer to go in, like, I love to look at expectations on like, I want to lose 3% body fat and I know I'm gonna have to crank for 3 months or whatever it is.
Because it's the if I know that I need to lose 10, which I think even talking about the 10% would be a huge change. Huge change. If we could get everyone, and it'll get there, but if everyone could think in body fat percentage change and not weight scale change,
I know.
It would be a game changer for everybody in their process and for the adhesion to the process. If we could just talk about body fat percentages.
Yes.
Only.
I mean, luckily for all of the female and the men that are coming in to Prevail, but the girls that are doing like nutrition coaching, and they'll have like they'll see like 2 to 3 pounds off of the scale, but then they hop on our in-body scale that measures body fat and muscle mass, and they're down like 7 pounds of straight fat, but they're holding on to their muscle. And their progress photos look so different. And so it really is starting to shift on like, all right.
Yeah, it's getting there, and it'll get closer.
Yeah, because if you want to look toned and be able to do stuff, like, you can't just focus on the scale.
Yeah,
and
body
it's really
fat.
hard.
Yeah, body fat percentage and muscle mass pounds or percentage are definitely going to be like, that needs to be the conversation, not the scale. It just, because if you look at, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. That could mean so many different things on what pounds is.
Yeah.
And that could be so many things outside of your control that will manipulate you, that can jack up. I mean, just changing salt day to day can change that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not actually changing what you, like when someone says, I want to lose body fat, it's because they want to change the way their body looks.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I did Moab, I came back from 4 days and lost 6 pounds, and all 6 pounds was muscle. And my body looked not as toned because it was all muscle that I had lost, you know?
So we tie back into this 21-day thing and these percentages, and you think about expectations and balance and moving into the right direction. You're like, okay, well, I know that I'm at, 35%, me to be as a female, right? And then I want to be healthy under 30.
Yes.
I want to be at 25. I can kind of see some shape. And I know that 20% is like a toned, athletic, like that's, when I think most people, female males, when they look at like, I want to be in shape, right? They kind of want that, like, I'm not really on a bodybuilder. I'm not really like a straight, like ripped person, but I can see some muscles. I can see some shape.
Yeah. Which is probably around like a percentage. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah. It's
like a 25% probably.
Yeah. It's kind of depending on genetics, that's between 25 and 20, depending. Yeah. So let's just say that's 10%. And you're like, all right, you can crank 21-day challenge and you could crank and lose 1%.
Yeah.
Right. And that is going to be
phenomenal.
Right. That's awesome. But it's 110% effort.
Yeah.
Right. There's no balance here at all. This is pushing hard. And then you get to day 22.
And then what do you do?
Right. Then you go to 23, 24. You go exactly back to what you're doing. And then you might, that 1% might be like a 0.25% gain over the next 2, 3, 4 months.
Yes.
Or by 2 or 3 weeks later, it's all the way back to where it was.
So hard.
Because we're at that 110%. But you're like, all right, well, if I really think that I want to use 10% and a healthy is like 4 weeks. You're like, okay, well, that means, quick math, that means I need 10 months of effort at 1% a month.
Yeah.
but that 1% is going to be like 85 to 90% effort month after month after month after month.
Yeah.
So it may not be like, you know, if you use 28 meals a week as an example, 4 meals a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's
right.
still like 1 to 2 meals, a
right.
little flexible.
Yeah,
you know, you can't go eat like a rugby player like at the end of ever.
Interesting.
I don't know, somebody I heard somebody talk about rugby the other day.
Yeah. So the 21-day challenges are usually 28 out of 28 meals.
Yeah.
Usually.
It's
that's,
like perfect.
That's how they're set up, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, great, I made all this progress. And then we go back to 4 out of 28 meals.
Yeah.
When really it's like, okay, if you want to do a 21-day challenge, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's 28 out of 28.
Mm-hmm.
But now what are we going to do? If you still want to make this progress, we need to be like holding like 26 out of 28.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm mentally getting super tired. I'm going to go to 24 out of 28 to hold maintenance, which 24 out of 28 would be balance. But most people would think that balance is like 14 out of 28.
Yeah.
Which is only 50%, but that's not going to get you to where you want to go.
No. And it's not going to hold you where you want to stay either once you get to your,
right.
You know. Like if you, like in theory, you already lost your 10% in 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go to half and half.
No.
You know.
No, you might, I think that, yeah. And you're never going to.
No.
Because we talked about the teeter-totter or the balance, the seesaw. Like, in order for you to maintain balance, you have to work at a good effort constantly to maintain balance. You can't just like do nothing, because then you're going to go back the other direction.
Yeah.
So the level of effort, but you can modulate the level of effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can modulate effort for 10 months.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about so not the 21 days, if you're being 21 is you're 100% in.
Most 21 days are built to be cranking.
So if you're, let's say you're like, you know, I really want to lose like 4% body fat, and we do some math, and you're like, okay, it's going to be 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm doing my, you know, whatever it is, my macros, my calories.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have 1 cheat day a week?
Yeah. That's the language behind cheat
I know.
is just jacking up our mental
It's so
toxic. It's just because you might as well say, yep, I'm going to have 1 cheat day a week and I'm going to outwork all my food that day the next day.
Right.
That's an awful headspace to be in.
So hard.
Awful headspace to be in.
I still hear people talking
It's
about
toxic. It does nothing good for our mental health space. Nothing, right? Because you're already using language that you're going against the plan.
Yeah, I got so many mosquito bites
But
from being outside my LMC.
The plan isn't a cheat meal when the plan might be, oh geez, she's breaking everything. My camera turned off. We're gonna have to figure out how to. It's kind of like maybe it's a 30-minute timer.
I think it is.
Your headphone. Yeah. Cheat meals are bad. Cheat meals are bad. And so, but if you have plans, right, if you say I'm going to eat, well, using macros, if you use macros,
It's a
technically there's
more
no
flexible approach for sure.
Yeah, there's no meals that are good or bad. Right? There's just a bunch of meals that fit inside the macros of the goals that we have.
Yes.
Quality of food with your health
Also fits into that. Yeah.
Which, yeah, so if you take just the pure math, right, you could eat nothing but
champagne and
Oreos, right? I was thinking of like what, yeah. So technically, if you could eat champagne, Oreos, and just a protein source, straight protein source,
piece of turkey,
right? Yeah, just call it turkey. You could eat those 3 things every day, right? And if you could technically,
Yes.
right?
And
you could be within a decent macro balance,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you could stay under, you could figure out your energy in, energy out,
Yeah.
and you would lose weight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
100% you would. That's how it would work.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Now, could you maintain it? Like, could you actually, like, physically, like, mentally, could you do it the same thing over and over again? Maybe,
Sure.
maybe not, right? But then you're going to be chasing other things from a health standpoint
Yes.
of stressing the body with booze.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be chasing it with, like, high inflammation, or you're going to be chasing, you know, sugar, or you're going to be chasing whatever, you know, like, so a macro balance from losing weight is just understanding the hard numbers.
Yes.
When people say, like, good, bad food, well, technically, we've done taco diet,
Yes.
right, where you've had
We've had
tacos every day and it fits in your macros, but it's almost impossible to hit a great macro balance day in, day out with the vast majority of your foods being good, like, whole foods.
It's hard to hit it. Is that what you said?
Well, if you don't.
Oh, right.
Like, if you were to eat just
Oreos and champagne.
Oreos and champagne,
Yeah.
it would be really difficult to hit macros.
Yeah,
Technically, it could happen.
Yeah.
But then other things are going to, like, your energy's going to be all over the place. Your skin's going to be all over the place. Your hair, your sleep, your workouts. Like, everything's going to be jacked.
Yeah. But when we look at, like, okay, so how we were talking about, if we're thinking of a longer term approach and those 26 out of 28 meals, right? And the 2 meals that are kind of like unaccounted for, which some people might call them cheat meals. But if you're tracking macros, you can kind of build those in, because sometimes where we go a little crazy is if we do have 2 to 4 meals a week that we're like, okay, this is my like 20% or my 15%. And then they go way over that 15% in like a total number of calories throughout the week. So like if you're being serious and you really want to hit a specific goal, that's like tracking macros is a good way to do that, because you're making sure you're not going over, but you can still drink champagne and eat Oreos for
You've got wiggle room
out of the
you got wiggle room with macros because the hard numbers are still under the equation. Compared to if you just say, I'm going to eat good all week, and then one day a week I'm just not going to care. Like, the variables and what that means, it's so subjective.
We don't know.
You have no clue what's really going on. No clue at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to count macros, I guess you could technically be like, I'm going to eat what is known whole foods, 26 out of 28 meals, and then the other 2 meals that are lower quality, you could, like, be really strict with portion control.
Yeah.
You know, you could be, but that's going to take a little more intuitive. Like, I can do that, but only because I have counted macros before.
He's studied food for, like, ever. But the thing that makes it hard on, like, okay, I'm just going to eat whole foods, you can so easily overeat. Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Like, if you're looking.
Yeah. Right. I'm saying that someone could take the idea of, like, I don't want to manually enter things into an app to count my macros.
Yes.
But someone could say, I'm going to eat the vast majority of my food with portion control.
For sure.
Hand portions.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at whole foods.
Yeah.
And then 1 to 2 meals a week, I'm going to eat what would be a lower quality food, but you still have to do portion control with it. You can't just go off the rails and just eat an entire meal of whatever and not account for it at all. Right. It's just that second option is so much more nuanced that it's really hard to do if you've never done any counting before.
Hard to do for your first tool out of the process.
Right. Yeah, super difficult to do.
Well, sometimes you gotta,
because you don't have any reference.
Right.
Yeah. You don't really know what that plate means from a macro standpoint or from calorie standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, you're really good at it, but like being in tune with hunger cues. And if like Sean wants to drop some body fat, then he'll just be like, well, I'm just going to maintain, you know, a level whatever hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if I'm more emotional about the process and I wasn't tracking my macros to be like, no, you know, I'm at my day limit today, I would be like, well, I'm just really hungry and I'm going to have a snack. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad at you. You know? And so there's also that like...
Yes.
I'm just being honest. Yeah. It's hard.
It's really hard. To eat intuitively like me to run off of hunger cues.
I have done it before, but
takes... Well...
I would rather fit chocolate in if I can still fit chocolate in.
You have to... like this, the self-awareness just has to be so high.
It's like you're dialed in.
Yeah, but I remember counting... I mean, I think I counted my first... Probably counted macros. I definitely counted protein in high school. So that was...
Dang, you were doing protein before protein was cool.
It was disgusting. So this is in 20... I mean, hot minute. 25 years, 24 years.
Holy...
Yeah, and I think I counted my first macros because macros wasn't a thing. It was called if it fits your macros.
Yeah.
You know, and it was born from like the forums of like bodybuilding a long time ago. And it was originally built to be what we're talking about. Oh. You have a tighter plan most of the time, and like I have this one social thing. How can I adjust these numbers to fit?
How can I fit it in my macros?
Right, fit it into my macros, so that I stay on track.
Yeah.
From like bodybuilding prep.
Yeah.
It got a little out of hand for a long time because people were like, well, I can just eat shit food.
Yes.
And I just, as long as it fits my macros, I don't care. And I'm going to eat Pop-Tarts and I'm going to eat this and I'm going to eat that. And you're like, well, I mean.
Pop-Tarts are the best hiking snack, though.
They are.
Okay, but yes. Yeah. There is a balance.
That was probably that was probably 17, 18 years ago.
That's crazy.
And I did that on and off for several years. Mm-hmm. And I learned all those things by going through the reps. Yeah. And there was no apps. Yeah. It was manually looking up everything. Pen and paper.
I love that for you. So glad it wasn't me. What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
But
that's why you can't just tell. The best thing about nutrition is that it's...
so hard.
Just run off of principles.
Yes.
Secondly, there is so much nuance.
There is. If every person I talked to was like, this is my goal, and I could literally be like, do exactly this for the next 6 months, I would love it.
Right.
But it's not like that.
It's
because
impossible.
Things happen and their body compositions change, and every time their body composition change, their energy equation change. You're like, what if they have a bunch of stress, or what if they're going on vacation, or what if they gain muscle and lose body fat? I mean, there's so many things.
There's so much nuance, which makes it so awesome, because that's what really great, like, that's when mastery and coaching and, you know, like hiring a professional and taking self-awareness and taking notes and learning and education come into play, because you have to learn your nuance. It would be so ridiculous for me to say, everybody, just try to maintain life at a level 7 hungry. Right? I could say that. Yeah. And there are some people out there who could execute that on and get progress. Yeah. Some people could 100% do that. Yeah. But not everyone. Mm. So you can't really take a statement like that and say, yep, that works for everyone. Yeah. No, it does not work for everyone. Mm-mm. It works for someone. Mm-hmm. It might work for someone, and it might be something you can try to do. Yeah. But don't think it's going to happen. It's hard. Right? That's like saying, back to the beginning. Yeah, if you just do a whole bunch of like running, zone 4 cardio, you're going to lose weight. You're like, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
You know,
that's not how it works. I zoned out for a second.
If you're just listening, it's just me staring at her as she's staring off into who knows where.
Hi.
You talk about this stuff all day.
All day. What? Well, you went back to zone 4 or zone 2.
Oh, it's just the heart rate zones.
Yeah, it's the same as, I mean, it's the exact same what we do in the studio too. Like, we don't tell everyone to pick up a 95-pound deadlift over and over. You know, it's the same. In nutrition coaching right now, everyone that is currently doing nutrition coaching is on a completely different set of macros and different habits that they're focusing on, because that is part of the actual coaching.
Yeah.
But me, myself, like, we as a team nutrition coach me. And my stuff changes all the time.
All the time.
But that is the art of it. Your body wants to adapt.
That's
a part. And
that's
it's not
the big takeaway.
But it's not bad that your body's adapting. It's its job to adapt to what you're doing for it to survive.
Yeah, its job is to make adaptations.
Yeah.
That's what it wants to do. So it's also saying that it's also its job to become efficient.
Yeah.
So when people, which this has everyone, right? You started a thing, you lost some weight, you didn't stop the thing, and you're like, well, that thing's not working for me anymore.
Yes.
No, that's not how it works. Your body got efficient at it,
which is
and
great.
so it stopped adapting.
Yeah.
Right, if that's the goal. Like they were, there was a study that was talking about step counts, and it was talking about step counts, and I think it was trying to get into kind of like calorie output from those step counts.
Yes.
You know? And this group had gotten up to like 20,000 steps.
A day?
Right? Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
They got so far, they'd done it for so long that they were outputting the same amount of calories as the group who was only walking 8 or 10,000, because they'd become so efficient at it that doing it anymore wasn't going to change anything. Yeah. Because they'd become adapted to it. Yeah. And so your metabolism wants to become, the body wants to become efficient.
Yeah. I say this a lot because I think like it's what we've been talking about the whole time. It's always like do more, eat less.
Right.
You can't always do that.
No. Whatever that, I think it was the Mind Pump guys. They use that analogy of, eat more, do less. Sure. That's like saying, if you don't want to be broke, make more money and save more. But like, duh. Yeah, but what does that mean? Yeah. Like, what do you mean eat more, do less?
Eat less, do more.
Right. And even then, it's way more nuanced than just like money, because you intentionally have to do less, do more, or you have to do eat less, move less, or eat more, move more, or like there's so much combinations of those two things that if you're always living in one of those all the time, you become so efficient at it that you either have to go wild into the balance, or you have to say, you know what, I have to do something completely different to make my body adapt. Yeah. I mean, you see this all the time with people who have chronic dieting. Yeah. Chronic dieting, chronic cardio, high intensity stuff.
Yeah, because it's like take the girl that's doing, or the guy that's doing 7 days a week of high intensity workouts and strict on calories. You're going to tell them that they need to move more and eat less to see more results?
Which technically, right, if this person is down to like, I'm eating 1,000 calories a day and I'm working out 7 days a week. Right. And I'm not losing any more weight. You're like, okay, well, technically. I mean, if you think about them, if your body doesn't, it's already trying to destroy itself.
If it's not budging from
that. If it's not budging, right? And you're like, okay, well, you can go down to 800 calories and work out 8 times a week. Right. I mean, technically, something's going to change. It's going to make an adaptation. Now, is it weight loss or fat loss?
Right.
Who knows?
Are you losing muscle? Are you eating into muscle mass? Are you walking around with no energy?
Right. And then what's your life like?
What are your hormones like?
You have no hormones. Right. You have no energy. But yes, you could upset that equation even more. Yeah. Or
you change the strategy.
You change the strategy and you say, you know what? I'm eating 1,000 calories, doing 7 days a week of blank exercise. What if I were to increase my calories and change the form of exercise And now I make my body have to make adaptations. It's like, whoa, what is all this inputs? I'm going to have to adapt to this.
Yes.
How can I adapt to this?
Yes.
Oh, I'm lifting weights all the time. Oh, I'm going to adapt to that by giving you more muscle because that's the stimulus you're giving me. And then all of a sudden, that 1,200 calories and the muscle, and you're like, I am so much hungrier. And then the scale moves because it's upset the equation.
Yes. Things are moving.
Things are moving.
And there's also a strategy for that.
There's a strategy for that. Most importantly is that the recipe is different for everyone. The principles behind the recipe are the same for everyone.
Yes.
Mechanically, it's energy out.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
If we're talking about...
Yeah, because y'all don't even get me started on these, like, cortisol mocktails that are floating around the internet right now.
Cortisol, hormones, and, you know, yeah.
I will lose it.
Yeah.
Cortisol
Cortisol is a good thing.
To 15 minutes.
Cortisol is a good thing. Hormones. You know, I think the hormones play a huge part in the seesaw.
Yeah.
In your ability to balance that seesaw, to stay off one direction or other way. It plays a huge part. But the environmental factors contributing to the hormones also play a huge part. So if you're like, yeah, my hormones are the reason I can't lose weight. Okay. Well, are you doing all the things that make your hormones happy?
Right.
Are you getting high quality sleep? Are you getting high quality nutrition? Are you getting high quality hydration? Are you managing your stress from both sides, either over or under stressing?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention too, is that so many people are worried about being over stressed, but too little stress doesn't do us any favors either.
Right. And then it's really hard to say, yes, I am super stressed out. I don't want to add stress. But you running through all the things you have to do as a checklist inside your brain compared to you putting mechanical stress on your body aren't the same things at all.
Yeah.
Nowhere close to the same things.
Yeah, because sometimes that exercise can help relieve the mental stress.
Right, which is proven to do.
Right.
That exercise can improve mental stress.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm not stressing, I get back to adaptations. If I'm not stressing the body to make adaptations,
yes,
it's not going to want to change.
Right.
So hormones
are very important.
Very important.
And they're definitely a part of the energy in, energy out equation.
Right. So if you go through a hormones checklist, and you're like, okay, I am
drinking water.
I'm drinking water.
I'm sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night.
7 8 hours of sleep. I'm getting daily sun. Right. I'm getting daily movement.
I'm getting micronutrients.
Micronutrients, which is why. Right.
Like
eating Pop-Tarts all day, all the time is a big deal.
And you don't do just Oreos and champagne.
Right. The micronutrients are jacked.
Are just as important as macronutrients.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you doing any kind of resistance training, lifting weights? Are you doing any kind of conditioning, not muddling up the middle, right?
Yep.
Okay, am I doing all those things consistently? And I'm taking rest days.
And I'm not overeating or undereating.
Right. And I'm managing my calories.
Yes.
Even at balance.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
Now, are my hormones still jacked? Yes. Did I get blood work that proves that my hormones are jacked? Yes. Okay. Am I talking to a professional who can help me supplement with the hormones to help me improve that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, does my quality of progress and rate of progress increase post? Sure can. Absolutely can. If you do all those things and testosterone is super low, if that's the thing, and you're like, man, my testosterone is like not good. Like I'm doing all the things I should be doing and it's okay, but doc, what if I were to do, doc's like, yes, I think that would be a good thing. We should do testosterone. And then everything improves. It's improving off of a baseline. But compared to testosterone is jacked and you're over like stress, you never do any movement, you never get any sunlight, you never drink water, you don't sleep. And like, let's just throw some hormones on top of this cocktail.
The cortisol cocktail.
I
see that all the time.
Yeah. And there's a time and place too. That's kind of like a 21 day, but not the cortisol, because that's ridiculous. But I mean, how do you manage cortisol? What are things that manage cortisol and create cortisol responses? Exercise, right? There's a cortisol response elevated cortisol response from exercise. So you're telling me I shouldn't have elevated cortisol, which means that I shouldn't work out?
Right. Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any, no, right.
sense.
Now, if you have like if you're living a life that's super high stressed all the time and you're never doing any proactive things and you have elevated cortisol, a high frequency of the time, there is something there, but there's a bunch of things that we can do.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
the heart rate zones for fat loss is like the 5% change, which is like, oh, I'm going to manage my cortisol. That's a 5% change.
Yeah.
When really you could look at your habits and manage it.
You feel a lot better.
Feel considerably better.
Yeah, for sure.
From the hormones
For
side.
Sure. So if y'all see people selling these freaking $100 cortisol cocktails for the morning, just say no.
No, go to a doctor.
Yes.
Go to an actual doctor, like someone who talks and does hormones.
Yes.
And talk to the doctor.
Yes. Okay, I'm hungry.
Oh,
Speaking of hunger cues,
Hungry cues.
we're at 55 minutes. Marcy's gonna be so sad again.
That we went past our time.
We went past our time.
What's the biggest takeaway though? What's the takeaway that people need to like? If you had to say one 3-minute thing about weight loss, heart rate zones, cortisol, hormones, like what's the biggest principle foundation that they just need to remember day in, day out?
Don't obsess over calories burned.
Okay.
You don't have to chase intensity.
Yep.
Weight loss and fat loss, majority of it comes from nutrition. Nutrition and fat loss and weight loss can be really simple, but not always easy to execute.
Right.
And if something that your friend is doing might not exactly be what you should be doing because you're all your own person. Cheat meals, just remove that.
Yeah.
Cortisol cocktails are stupid.
Yeah. The main, absolutely.
You recap it.
I mean, that's a phenomenal recap.
Thank you.
The biggest takeaway that we just need to repeat 1,000 times.
Just look into the camera for this one.
Is that separate exercise and nutrition, energy in, energy out. What am I getting out of the exercise that improves the quality of my life? And only search for that exercise to do that. So what is if I'm getting pickleball in 2 times a week, and that's a way for me to get some good steps and some good movement in 2 days a week, and that's part of my energy out equation, fantastic. Yeah. But the goal is pickleball. The goal is not to burn calories.
Yes.
So put exercise into what is that exercise gaining?
Yes.
Take everything else from the other side.
Yes.
What am I consuming?
If I want to affect my body composition.
How is that affecting my health? And how is that affecting my weight and my body fat percentage? And then keep everything on that one side as the variable to control.
Yes.
And the other side, what am I gaining from the other side? Yes. Treat them differently and understand the balance between. Understand the relationship between the two. Yes. But they don't rely on each other back and forth. So whatever name of exercise and whatever name of nutrition is irrelevant. So it doesn't matter if it's blank diet, this thing, that thing, this thing. They all work on the same mechanism. Exercise, right? What am I gaining from the exercise? Yes. Am I getting stronger? Am I building muscle? Am I getting in better shape?
Am I enjoying myself?
Am I having fun? Am I socializing?
Yes.
Am I enjoying things? Am I enjoying nature? All the things I'm gaining from exercise.
Yes.
And what are the things that I'm inputting?
Yes.
They're going to change the quality of my health and the quantity or quality of the scale.
Yes. And energy and all sorts of stuff.
Right. And then that relationship is never the same.
Right.
So once you become efficient at that relationship, you need to modify that relationship.
Yeah, and that's because...
And that's normal and predictable. Not predictable. It's normal for it to need to change.
Yes. Yeah.
It's normal for it to stop working.
Yes. And I think we say this a lot, but we haven't said it yet on this, but we do not punish ourselves with exercise or reward ourselves with food. And that can be very powerful part of separating the two.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, because I don't want to get the 21-day challenge. How many people have we heard of, like, before they start a nutrition program, they binge, and then they finish one, and then they celebrate with food.
Yeah. And you can, it's hard, but you can focus on nutrition without developing a negative relationship with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that if you're
It's
eating
almost opposite.
super low quality food all the time and you feel like shit, you've got a bad relationship with food because you don't understand the power of nutrition to make you feel better.
Y'all, we got carried away. It's good stuff. It's not an hour.
It's not an hour. There we go. So,
okay, episode 5 next time. Next time.
if you made it through the whole thing,
let us know.
1, did you enjoy that? Comment below on the YouTubes. If you're listening on the podcast, Spotify or Apple, go to Danny_Prevail.
Yes.
Comment on a post and say, dude, I didn't like episode 4. Do you guys talk too much? Or it was too long, or it's too short.
Yeah, let us know.
Because you think everyone is already zoned out.
I do. But, you know, I listen to Joe Rogan for 3 hours at a time all the time. Right. I think he's so funny, though.
Oh, we weren't funny enough.
I don't think we were funny enough. This is kind of serious. But
spicy day.
Sometimes he has doctors on his podcast, which, speaking of, I was looking up how to get doctor in front of my name last night because I think it would be cool. So I got to go get a PhD in something. Doctorate. Let's go.
Yeah, that would be something
Dr.
you
Danielle
would do.
Sharon,
You would become obsessed with. You already have a, what is it, arts degree? Is photography creative arts degree?
Mass communication.
Mass communications.
Yeah, that was the yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do a mass communications doctorate.
I'll Google it.
Jeez, she's gonna become a doctor. I'm sure you could become a doctor in photography.
Yes, of the arts. It's a doctor of the arts is what I read last night. PhD.
Great, something to become obsessed with.
I hate balance.
Okay, comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube.
Dang, we should
That's
have
what they
said this at the
say.
beginning.
And then Danny_Prevail, drop in a comment on one of the posts. Say, I enjoyed this. I didn't enjoy it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you listened, for being here.
Yep. And if you have comments and questions about things you want to hear us talk about in the future, tell us.
Please send me a message. Would love to know. Episode 4. Bye.